Will,
Yes, Bob.
I was playing Shadow of Mordor.
Great game. Excellent game.
And I was saying I had some problems with it.
Yep.
And then you...
Accurate.
So, it's a good game. It's good. I was saying I'm sick of these beat-em-ups where the button comes up over the guy's head and you have to hit that button to counter and
You're
stuff like
specifically referring to the, I guess you can call it the Arkham Asylum style of
right.
melee combat.
But Assassin's Creed does it too.
But the Assassin's Creed is much slower and much more methodical. Arkham's is more faster and rhythm based.
I would say Assassin's Creed is the same, except that the buttons don't actually show up over their heads.
Right.
I like Assassin's Creed fighting better than Batman and Shadow of Mordor.
You are the only person who thinks that.
Because they don't treat you like you're stupid.
The Arkham combat
it feels better. You feel the feedback against the people.
No, I disagree.
The slices
Arkham combat system feels so much better because
I like the Arkham combat
Assassin's
system.
Creed, you're basically sitting there and waiting to counter. Like you're sitting there staring at your opponent because the only way to defeat anybody is to just counter.
You're doing the same thing.
But you're not.
Mordor.
Because in Batman everything's much faster, so you're concentrating on one guy. Meanwhile, you got three other dudes coming at you.
That is nice that it's faster. But
the enemy variety
when you get like 3 hours into the game, it starts getting really repetitive.
Well, the good games, like the Arkham games and like Shadow of Mordor has been doing, like they throw different enemy varieties at you. So you have to stun some of them. You have to hop over some of them. You have to, do this move or that move. The variety starts to change.
But I feel that's not enough variety for me.
No?
No. It just hit a different button when this happens.
See, because
on this enemy, hit this button instead of that button.
Well, yeah. Well, you got to be quick. You have to, because they just keep coming at you really fast.
There needs to be a completely different gameplay element, like in the Batman games, all of the stealth and stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool. That throws a lot of variety.
Right.
But the whole core mechanic of that game and the core mechanic of the Shadow of Mordor games is when this button comes up over the guy's head, hit it.
Well, okay,
and that is not a good gameplay mechanic.
Okay, I don't think that's the core mechanic because that button prompt does not last very long. It lasts like maybe half a second. But if you don't hit it in that half a second, you're done.
It goes from an action game to a rhythm-based game.
Yeah, that was the whole. It's a more because the Arkham Asylum combat system started off as a rhythm game.
Right.
So it sort of evolved from there. So yeah, there's a rhythm. You start with this guy and then you move to that guy and then you move to that guy.
I don't think. I feel like in 2015 we can do better than that.
All right. Well, let me ask you this then. If you were playing a first-person shooter,
right?
What's the duck button?
It changes.
Does it? Because for the past few years, every time I play a first-person shooter, at least on the 360, it's the B button.
I've got problems with first-person shooters too, because the core mechanic of first-person shooters, if it's not done well, is that it's a glorified shooting gallery.
Right.
So if something pops up, you put your crosshairs over it and you hit shoot.
Right.
That's if it's done really bad. If it's done really well, they throw in all of these other elements like vehicles or like in Destiny and Halo, there's a lot of melee and stuff, and you got to jump around and stuff.
All right,
that helps.
So it's not so much a problem with the core mechanic; it's a problem, with the game itself. A bad game is a bad game.
Right.
A good game is a good game. A game that, a game that uses that combat system well is generally a good game. A game that doesn't use that combat system well is generally a bad game.
Combat systems. That's what we're gonna call this episode. I'm sick of that combat system.
Why?
That's what it is. Because it's in a lot of games.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's that great of a combat system.
So is left trigger for crosshairs, right trigger to fire.
You're right.
So
that's a control scheme.
Right. So is this.
No, it's a whole combat system.
So how is right trigger to fire not a combat system?
That's a button layout. The combat system in that is the whole first-person shooting gallery scenario. And the way to fix that is to have a lot more melee attacks and platforming and whatnot.
All right, well then how do you fix the Arkham style combat system?
I don't know. I'm not a game designer. Platforming would help. Shadow of Mordor also steals a lot from Assassin's Creed with climbing and what else? They have
the fact that you have to assassinate certain targets.
Yeah.
That's actually my favorite part of the game. Not even like the story mode, because I'm only like halfway through the story mode. I just like hunting down all the
Shadow of
orcs.
Mordor is what Assassin's Creed should be now.
Yes, exactly, 100%.
And everything except the combat system. Like the bow, stuff with the bow.
Yeah.
That's great. That adds a little bit of variety. But when most of the game is that combat system, I think we have a problem. Like these games are all great. I'm not like just on the game.
I mean, Shadow of Mordor is flawed in that it does throw way too many people at you when you're not doing anything.
Yeah. You
can just be walking through the field, minding your own business, and all of a sudden, the orcs will yell at you, "Stranger, I'm gonna eat your butt," or whatever. So, and it happens all the time.
And then they just eat your butt, and it sucks. And it's just press the X button, and I press it, and nothing happens. In the Batman games, this happened the other day in Shadow of Mordor. There must have been like 100 dudes.
Yeah.
And like once you get into the rhythm, it's like it doesn't even like matter anymore. In Batman specifically, towards the end of Batman, there was like tons and tons of dudes, and it just didn't even like phase me.
Really?
There was just no problem at all.
Because like even like as Batman progresses, at least for me, like it does get hard, and like you feel like Batman is reaching the end of the night, and like he's tired. And
the game does get harder as it goes
Yeah.
on, but then you hit a certain peak, and you're like, I've got the rhythm down.
All right.
If you stop playing like for a couple of days and come back to it, you're gonna lose the rhythm. But if you're playing for like every day, like a week straight, once you get towards the end, you'll be able to do it with your eyes closed.
All right. Well, I don't know if Shadow of Mordor does this, and I don't know if Arkham Origins does this, but Asylum and City have modes where the prompt doesn't come up over their head.
Right.
Have you ever tried that?
I have not tried that.
Because that changes everything.
Right.
That makes it really hard.
Well,
almost next to impossible.
Do they give you cues in that game when to hit the button? Do the character animations give you cues?
I mean, like, you could see them wind up, but, like, again, like, if you're not paying attention, because, like, those, like, lightning bolts in Asylum or the actual button prompt in Mordor.
I might actually try that in Arkham Knight.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I bet you that might change my opinion on this whole thing.
Yeah, because, I mean, like, if you don't see, like, that prompt, there's no way for you to even try to beat it. I mean, I've tried. I'm, like, I think a fourth of the way through Arkham City without the prompt, and it's just like it's really hard.
Is that super hard mode, or is it just the same difficulty without?
In Arkham Asylum, it's just hard mode, but in Arkham City, I think it's New Game Plus.
Okay. Oh well, then I'll have to beat the game and then do it again.
Well, you already beat Arkham City.
Yeah, but I already played it.
Yeah, so.
I'm talking about Arkham Knight.
Arkham Knight. I don't know.
It might be like just start off doing it.
It might be the same. I don't know.
And I'm not like amazing at these games. I feel like that's just how it happens.
I'm not amazing either, but like because it makes you feel like you're in control. Like you feel powerful doing it.
Right.
You feel like Batman when you're beating the shit out of people one after the other, after the other, after the other.
And that feels great.
Yeah.
But again, if the Arkham games weren't Batman games, they wouldn't be good games.
No, I totally disagree with you because the fact that it's Batman makes it better.
Arkham Asylum. If Arkham Asylum wasn't a Batman game, it wouldn't be a good game.
The fact that it's Batman just makes it better. If it was another game set in an insane asylum with a guy trying to take out crazy people, it would be good. It would just be BioShock. Essentially,
I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be good. I think it would be another one of these games with this bad combat system.
No, the only it helps that it's Batman, but Batman is not the sole reason why that game is good.
I think Batman helps tremendously. I think it no one would have even heard about it if it wasn't a Batman game.
All right, so counterpoint to that, the last two Amazing Spider-Man games that came out
were awful.
But they use that same combat system.
Wait. The movie games?
The movie games.
Oh, I never played those.
Yeah. They use the same exact combat system as Arkham.
Right.
But those games suck. But it's Spider-Man.
Right.
So clearly, it has nothing to do so much with the character or the combat system. It's really the game design. The way the combat system
I didn't say the
is
rest of the
implemented.
game was bad. Like that combat system is like the rest of the game also helps.
Right.
There's a lot of other things that bring variety into the game. I liked that game. I like the Arkham games. I like them a lot.
Okay.
But that combat system needs to change.
Well,
We're using it too much in all of these games, and it's not that great. It's okay. It holds you over for a little bit, but I'm totally sick of it now.
you know, because I'm not, because that is, to me, that is a system that, you know, it's easy to learn and hard to master. I like, you know, that's like the best example of that phrase I can think of. Because, yeah, you have your simple attack, counter, stun, and dodge buttons, but then you start to, you know, work in the button combinations that don't always work, but some, like, when you get it, like, it feels perfect. You know, there's a depth to that combat system when done well.
But the problem is if you learn it in Arkham Asylum, and
Yeah.
you learn it in all of the Assassin's Creed games,
Not
then when you
necessarily.
get to Shadow of Mordor, it's the same combat system, and they start that game off assuming you know the combat system already.
They do.
Because
They start off
that
every
tutorial-
first-person shooter assuming you've played a first-person shooter
Right.
before.
That tutorial is not a tutorial.
Yeah.
But that like easier to learn, hard to master. It's easier to learn, but if you've played all of those other games, you got it already.
See, I know,
They
because
throw all these other abilities at you that you need in that game to take out certain enemies. But if those enemies, like, no, even with like, I haven't had a problem. I died once. I've been playing for like 4 hours. Like,
Yeah.
and even the recovery is easy too. When you get knocked down, you just bring the thing in and you hit the button.
I like that.
It's just
I like that.
You're just reacting to the button prompts that they put on the screen.
You're not.
It's that whole game is a glorified. That combat system is a glorified QuickTime event. I'm just saying that this combat system's a little stale. Like it's not like I did say it's bad a lot in my rage, but it's not like awful, but it's stale now. And I think we need to figure out something else.
I don't think it's necessarily stale. I just think.
And a lot of Shadow of Mordor I have played already in Assassin's Creed and in Batman.
I don't think this is stale just yet. I'm sure like developers will find new and interesting ways to use this exact same combat system in their games. Arkham Knight, I think, is going to have new ways to use it. So that'll be interesting. I mean, control schemes, once a control scheme is perfected, that's what's used for years.
I'm not talking about the control scheme.
But that's what it is.
I'm talking about a combat system.
It's just, but it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, well, you flip the buttons, it's a different control scheme. Make a triangle instead of an X, and it's a different
But
control scheme.
okay, since Arkham, it's been, you know, this button attacks, this button counters, this button stuns, this button dodges.
Right.
That's how it's been. Since the NES, Mario has been this button jumps, this button runs. Right. Since the PS2 era, left stick is movement, right stick is camera for first-person shooters, and then the shoulder buttons fire and use your reticle.
Right.
So I mean, once developers have a control, one developer comes up with a good control scheme, everybody starts to copy.
You gotta throw a lot of stuff in there that makes it different. First-person shooters are all generic.
Yeah. Well,
that's known.
Yeah.
that's well known. This whole combat system, I'm surprised not a lot of people think that it's generic.
Well, because they keep putting it. I don't think people find it generic because they like it. It works.
I don't think it works anymore. I think it's stale now. I'm playing Shadow of Mordor, and I feel like I'm playing Batman and Assassin's Creed thrown together. The fact that it's a picture of the button really gets me mad in Shadow of Mordor because I have been playing games my whole life. You don't need to tell me what the button is. That brings it from this like whole combat system to a QuickTime event. With me being able to move in a 3D space.
So, if it wasn't a picture of the button,
I feel like I would be a lot less mad, but it's still the same combat system.
If it wasn't a picture, so do you consider it a QuickTime event in Arkham Asylum, or do you only consider it a QuickTime event in Shadow because you see the button?
Yeah. I mean, it's still I still consider it a stale combat system, but I'm calling it a QuickTime event because you can see the buttons. Yes.
Well, you're wrong. And just,
All right.
and you find people at home, well, please tell him he's wrong, either down below or anywhere on
Don't tell me
social
I'm wrong.
media.
Those 3 games are the same combat system. You tell him that.
They may be this.
You take his
All right.
personal his cell phone number. It's 516.
Like if you like, subscribe if you really like, leave comments, share this video with your friends. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good week.
Your hand tastes like salmon.
Because I ate salmon. Question. Who did Anne Hathaway play in The Dark Knight Rises? You're probably thinking, Catwoman, obviously. Well, not exactly. They only ever refer to her as Selena Kyle on screen, and only make a subtle reference here and there to the fact that she's a cat burglar, never specifically Catwoman. So for all my videos, I usually write up a script on Google Keep, and then I get it on my phone, and then I read it line by line, record it, and chop it up into bits, and put it together in Premiere. But I'm not going to do that because I didn't write a script.